Castlevania Bloodlines is regarded as one of the most difficult in the series, not necessarily from a gameplay perspective, but merely because it operates on a limited continue system, which, while that may be unfortunate to some, is actually quite manageable if you know what you're doing. So I'm happy to give you a bit of a beginner's guide to Castlevania Bloodlines so you can tackle this game full front and not get intimidated by the difficulty. Before you start, the first thing you need to do is go to the menu and give yourself a couple extra lives. So it defaults to 3, but in the menu you can adjust it to 5 or a lesser amount if you're pretty wild. I'm not. I just like to give myself a lot of lives. And you have 3 credits technically. So with 5 lives you'd have 15 as opposed to the 3 times, which would be 9. It's 6 stages, so you can benefit from an extra 6 lives. You could change the difficulty to easy. What that would allow you to do is not take knockback in addition to your damage. So let's say you're on a stairwell, enemy won't knock you back off the stairwell, which, you know, if you come across those Medusa heads, that can be helpful. But personally, I don't think you'll need that. There are 2 characters to choose from in the game, both of which play unique and have slightly different paths. They're John Morris and Eric Lecarde. John Morris is more of a traditional whip bearer in the sense that he plays like Simon Belmont from the original Castlevania game. So people who like the classic Castlevania controls will probably go with John Morris. Additionally, he can jump and angle his whip attack up or horizontal and down. So he does have a bit of a multi-directional whip, but you can only use it in an aerial fashion, and that can be tricky. Eric is much easier to use, so if you're just learning the game for the first time, I'd personally recommend him. The spear has a longer range, so you can attack enemies from further away, and a couple enemies in this game will have a decent reach, so it does help to have that extra wiggle room. Additionally, Eric has a special ability that lets him use his spear to plunge higher in the air, and that can help for a couple harder to reach areas. It's all a matter of preference, but I will say too, Eric's aerial jump gives him some invincibility frames, so you can actually exploit that a little bit. If you're looking to cheese through the game, Eric's not a bad option. He's a big, cheeser. Like me, I took my time playing Castlevania Bloodlines, and I suggest you do too. There are no time limits. So you can actually take your time to really see what's happening in each stage. What are the enemy patterns? What are the stage patterns and stage hazards? This game is full of stage hazards. So you do have to memorize some of them to a certain extent to know where you're going. So be prepared to fail, because you will. You'll die at a couple points and be like, oh man, that was so cheap. But you'll know to look out for it next time. You'll still have a couple of those occasional ones, like where, let's say, you get drowned by water or an unfortunate knockback. But it's easy to pick back up. And I do think that if you really analyze what are the enemy behaviors, you can take a decent approach at tackling them. The game is a lot of pattern recognition. What will the enemy do at this point? How can I take advantage of that? How can I dodge it? Etc. What are their weak points? When all else fails, the game does have a decent checkpoint system. It's broken into sort of like manga squares, like stage 1-1, stage 1-2. And when you die, you respawn at that square. So you wouldn't respawn at the beginning of the stage. You wouldn't respawn at 1-1, you'd respawn at, say, 1-2. And that's really helpful for first-time players, and also just so you don't have to repeat large segments. I think that's an understated point about this game, is that, you get to practice at those points that you need the practice at. And I do think if you get into like a mid-boss or final boss, you should just go all out. You should really use all the tools at your disposal. An advanced technique is actually to do kind of the Castlevania 1 trick, and if you can go back in the scene, like down a set of stairs, you can farm for weapon upgrades or for sub-weapons or for extra jewels to add to your disposal. And if that fails, the game does have a password system. So despite having limited continues, after you clear a stage, you get a password. And you can just take a picture of it and input it the next time. Let's say you're at your last credit. I think by the time you're at your last credit, that's when you should probably look at the password system and maybe practice that stage. I know I needed to do that for the final Dracula boss as Eric, but by the time I played on my John Morris playthrough, I had it down. I think after you do all that, you can hope to really do a decent number on the game. I mean, I cleared this not in one credit, but with the allotted credits as John Morris in one playthrough in about an hour and 10 minutes. And I think that's really what I like about this game is it's kind of a quick, fun Castlevania that still challenges you, but I don't think it's over the top. I think it's manageable.